There, beautiful souls. How are you doing? Did you all feel the energy yesterday of the 8-8 portal for the Lion's Gate? It's when the star Sirius aligns with the Earth and the Great Pyramids and just brings this amazing, heartfelt energy back to the planet. I was definitely feeling it yesterday morning, like really intensely. Almost felt like anxiousness, which I haven't had in quite some time, but rode through it, and Egypt has been coming up in meditations for me lately, so I had forgotten that we were coming up to the Lion's Gate, so perhaps that's why that was happening. Right now, I just want to share this beauty with you. I'm going to pan around. I'm at this amazing spot on the Sacramento River here in Northern California for a few days. And, it's the ebb and flow of the river is like the ebb and flow of life. I was supposed to be here with some girlfriends that I met on a trip to Mexico in March with Kai Pacha and Miguel Angel, our shaman in the Yucatan. But all the girls had to drop off. And so I decided, I really need to gift myself a few nights here before I go home to the caretaking of the parents, because that's mega stressful. And I'm really grateful that I did. But I want to talk a little bit today about the healing of the masculine and feminine within, because just because you're in a female body doesn't mean you don't have masculine. Or if you're in a masculine body, doesn't mean you don't have feminine. Like, we all have them both within. And it's about bringing the rebalancing so that when the outer shows up for you, especially in an intimate partnership, you can work with it a lot easier than if you're fully in your masculine, which is all in your head, and you're linear and logical and rational and practical, as opposed to the feminine. If you're all there and not even thinking rationally, you're, more heartfelt and emotional and, feeling so much stuff, raw emotions. So always a good balance. But I came last weekend from G-Fest, Goddess Rising, this amazing festival here in Mount Shasta, and I'm so grateful that I did. I got to connect with so many beautiful women from around the world. And we had this one session with a priestess. I don't even remember her name, but she was so great. Like, we just sat and she helped us to remember that though formal training is really helpful, and I had it as well, went through priestess training, we don't need it. We all have that essence within us, for the feminine. And we were holding space for the masculine because the patriarchy on this planet is going through massive changes, huge healing. So many men on the planet have been shut down in their emotional bodies, especially in Western society. They're told by their fathers or grandfathers, shut up, don't be a girl, you're acting like a sissy, all these things. And they've lost touch with their connection to their heart. And so when they're in intimate partnership, their women can't feel them. Like, we cannot feel them. And it's so classic to get in a relationship with somebody for a few months and the honeymoon phase, and you have this deep attraction and this sexual energy. But then when that wears off and the masks drop and you really start seeing the other person, the women tend to speak up and say, hey, what's going on? Like, are you okay? I can't feel you. You can't feel your partner. And they look at you like you're crazy because they're sitting right next to you on the couch or they're spending time with you. But it's not about that. It's not the physical. It's the connection. And so we talked a lot about that. And it's really, really important to work through our stuff, whatever we hold on to from our childhood. It's become really, really obvious to me that there's so many people that don't want to look at their shadows, in the New Age movement, or, these parameters you hear, oh, it's all good, it's all love and light. No, it's not freaking all love and light, okay? That's total bullshit. You're on the planet of duality, on planet Earth, where we have light and dark, hot and cold, red and blue, which pillow you're going to take. If you don't work on the shadow side that you're holding on to from trauma, from childhood, and trauma, some people might think, oh my God, that sounds like I got my ass beat all the time, or I was like sexually abused. Yeah, there are those aspects of trauma, but trauma can also mean a repeated behavior from your caregiver that wasn't as extreme as that. But if it happened over and over and your needs as a child weren't getting met, you took it very personally and you created this whole story around it, which built walls up around your heart. And over the time, if you don't work on that, you come into adulthood, that starts to play out with your intimate partner. And you start to project whatever's going on inside of you You know, it had to do with your mother or your father. And yeah, it can really wreak havoc, you know, and it makes my heart just crack for anyone who refuses to like look at their stuff, you know. And one of the MOs for the masculine, and I heard this from Jason Gaddis, who's a teacher that I've been working with through the relationship school. He was the emotionally unavailable man for a long time. He, in his own words, he had like 10 years of failed relationships, and finally the light bulb went on in his head, and he's like, oh my God, I think there's something wrong with me. You know, I think that I must be the one common denominator in all these failed relationships. Yeah, well, absolutely. We all are. If something doesn't work, we both have a part to play. And looking at that so you don't keep the repetition going is huge. So just working on all those things. But when we choose like not to work on them or refuse to see it, because, you know, this was the other thing he said, that a lot of men in that space will say, well, my childhood was fine. There's nothing wrong with me. It's all you know, pointing the finger, projecting at the other partner. And we all have stuff. So it could be as simple as your father works, let's say 16-hour days, comes home when you're a child, he's exhausted. You want that connection with your dad. You know, you want your dad to spend time with you. Maybe you're a little boy and you feel like he doesn't spend time with you, he doesn't love you enough. When that's the story that you've told yourself, but it's not true. He's exhausted. He's working hard to provide for the family. He comes home, he eats dinner, his energy falls, and he really doesn't have much time to spend with you because he can't give it. But we take this so personally, and that's what we build up, and then we come into, you know, partnership later on down the road with all these suitcases. And I think it's really shitty and sad if we don't look at that. If we have a bunch of failed relationships and we don't start to go, wait a minute, what is going on with me in this mirror? Let me look at myself. Because it's like taking those suitcases of all the baggage to the next person and dropping them at their feet and going, okay, here you go. You know? It's not fair. And especially like jumping from the fire to the frying pan, going from one relationship into the next without even processing. That to me, I just can't even like conscious that. I just can't. It's just unfathomable to me at my age, you know, or anybody past 30 that would even be able to do that. But again, people get stunted. They get stunted at the age where they had trauma, past relationships. You take a kid who does a shit ton of drugs, you know, I say they're 14, they start using, like, they start smoking pot and they start drinking and then they maybe get into heroin, whatever. They get stunted at that age emotionally. And when you're faced with that, it's really, really hard, you know, to break through that. And really, it's not anybody's responsibility to knock the walls down around somebody else's heart. That is theirs and theirs alone. And it's heartbreaking, you know, but at the same time, clear and strong boundaries when you start to get healthy within yourself are super necessary. And so sitting with this women at G-Fest, all the women, it was just so beautiful to hear their stories and to connect and to know that as women, we do have like the sacred hearts that are more receptive, more open. That's the energy of the feminine. The men have it too, and if we could help to bring them back into their heart space, it'd be so beautiful. And there were men on Sunday evening, it was open to all genders, and they actually did a little prayer up on the stage where we thanked the brothers for coming in and sitting with us, because these are the men who are awakening, just like we're awakening to the power as women that we hold within the container of the family. And it's been a really, really healing journey for me to come back to Northern California. I'll fly home in like a week and get back into the caregiving with the rest of the family for my parents. You know, I've been hearing stories of, you know, mom's still combative and dad's forgetting more and he's always super sweet. So you have the total like male-female balance of angel devil, or, you know, happy, angry to deal with it. It's a lot to take in, but I know that coming to a place like this, you know, finding somewhere like this, or escaping maybe to the mountains of Georgia or North Carolina on occasion, are going to be super necessary for me, like to heal and to create a space within myself that's expansive so that I can expand my own healing and be able to hold more energy for those people that need me, for my parents that need me. It's super intense. But I'm really grateful that I had this time, and I want to branch out more into doing some tarot and some astrology on this YouTube channel. So I thank you for all of you who are supporting me. I know there's not a lot right now, but I'm hoping that will shift because I'm really passionate about sharing subjects that I feel are necessary to speak on, but most people don't like to talk about them because they are uncomfortable with them. And it's through that uncomfort, that discomfort, can come the highest growth, but you have to be willing to dive in. And I have always been willing to do that. You guys have a great weekend.